Thank you, Nicole. Okay, I'd like to call this session of the Board of Revision to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 41st Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Harvey Diamond. With me today is Bill Moretsky and Richard Whitbread forming the committee. The City of Winnipeg Assessment Department is represented by Svetlana Shabo, and our administrative assistant is Nicole Carnegie. We will be hearing applications for revision of the business assessment rules in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act and the City of Winnipeg Charter. The matters for revision have been requested and are described in each application, and we will be limiting discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing must be sworn or affirmed, and anyone speaking to such matters must be first sworn in or affirmed. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered as evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council, is independent of it and the City Administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence that we hear that's provided at the hearing, and we issue a written order that we mail to all participants as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to an application for exemption from taxation. And should you wish to appeal, if you to do so, will be included with our order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by any questions that the applicant may have. Then the applicant's testimony followed by any questions. Each side will be given an opportunity to summarize if they wish to do so. And once all the evidence upon application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today, and the session will close after all applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and render its decisions. You receive the board's decision by written mail as soon as possible. As information, all public records are live streamed, recorded, and will form part of a public record. And today we'll be hearing items 1, 2, 3, 6, and item 8 on the docket today. And Ms. Carnegie, you can please swear in or affirm the assessor and the applicant at this time.
Okay, thank you. Madam Assessor, please state your full name.
Svetlana Shabo.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Marcelo Navarro.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, before beginning, I'm just going to ask both Ms. Scheibel and Mr. Navarro if there's any items that you wish to discuss or bring to our attention before we start.
I don't have any.
Okay, Ms. Scheibel?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, then we can proceed with the first item on the agenda today, which is the property at 870 Scotland Avenue. And when you're ready, Ms. Scheibel, you can begin.
File number 22-4262, business ID number 31017, owner Caddy Campus Inc. We assess business at annual rental value at $91,800 with total area, occupied area 5,822 square feet. In our overall rent per square foot that include occupancy cost, $15.77. Base rent assessed for the business, $13.27. On page number 2, we have air photo and street view of the subject property. It's daycare, built in 1917, located on land area of over 36,000 square feet. In all leasable area for this building, 14,018 square feet. On page number 3, I presented rent comparables, everyone daycare. My first comparables out on McPhillips. It's old building, 1964. Date lease start 2016 for 8,000 square feet and $9.50. Second comparables on Scarfield Boulevard, building built in 1987, lease started in 2018, over 8,000 square feet for $14.23. Third comparables on Roblin, building built in 1974, lease started in 2017 for 2,750 square feet at $17 per square foot. Comparable number 4 on Main Street, a building built in 1988, lease started in 2013 for 5,988 square feet at $20 per square foot. And fifth comparables on Main Street, building built in 1981, lease started 2013 for 2,108 square feet at $20.57. My comparable showed that average $12.27 and media $12 per square foot. I would like to mention that our assessed reference date, April 1st, 2021. So each of my comparables should be upward adjustment for time. For example, comparable number 4 and 5 should be adjusted for time 8 years upward, 8 years adjustment upward for rent. On page number 4, I present income expense mailer provided to us. So based off my comparables, our assessment is reasonable, it's fair, and should be confirmed at $91,800. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Scheibel. Yes, Mr. Marcello, Mr. Rivero, any questions?
I don't have any questions for the assessor.
Okay. Mr. Moreski, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to just indicate, Ms. Scheibel, I'm looking at your comparisons, and the smaller ones, the 2,750 and the 2,100. Okay, yeah, I see the 2,750 seems to have a higher rent than the others, and it's a smaller space. I know that the smallest space is only 1,257. That's number 5.
Yes, correct. Because its rent was negotiation in 2013, 8 years before reference date.
No, I understand that, but shouldn't larger spaces usually have lower rents because of there's usually some economy of scale?
Yes, if he is able to negotiate it in same years, yes, it would be appeal.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Rivero, you can proceed.
Mr. Chair, we are following the order for the realty, and so we are asking for confirmation of the business assessment.
Okay. Any questions, panel members, Mr. Moreski or Mr. Whitbread?
I have none.
I have done no.
I don't either. Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Scheibel, we can proceed with the next one then, which is item number 2, which is the property at 444 Main Street. Is it?
Forks Main Street. Okay. File number 22-4447. Business ID 35215. It's owner F&P Parking Limited. Liability to taxation under appeal. I give floor to agent.
Okay, so you're asking Mr. Marcello to.
Yes, because liability to taxation, it should be heard first.
Okay,
Or I can finish that our total annual rental value for 17 parking stall, 64,260. for heated parking. I should keep going.
Okay, so basically, why do you want the applicant to go first? Are you saying there's been non-cooperation?
Because no, first it's annual rental value under appeal, and also liability to taxation under appeal. And following realty, usually liability to taxation heard first.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Barrow, we can deal with that then.
Okay, so Ms. Scheibel is correct that the person who has, or the party that has liability under appeal should go first. In terms of the property, this is, we have it as FNP parking. I believe it's slightly different. However, FNP parking is simply a subsidiary of North Portage Development Corporation. And they also wholly own the Forks Renewal Corporation. And you can see the governance and management on page 2. These entities are owned 3 ways by the federal government, the provincial government, and the city of Winnipeg. Now, just to step back a little bit in terms of the valuation and the ARV. I went through the ARV. I don't have an issue with the value that Ms. Scheibel has proposed for this location. So we're not questioning the value. We're questioning the liability for business assessment and business tax. So I'll begin with that.
Okay.
So on page 2, again, you can see that North Portage Development Corporation was incorporated in December of 1983 under the laws of Manitoba. The Forks Renewal Corporation, again, which is also owned wholly by North Portage Development Corporation, was incorporated in 1987. Now, both corporations were merged in 1994 to form the Forks North Portage Partnership. Partnership is governed by a 10-member board of directors. And again, the shareholders, each shareholder appoints 3 people to the board. The chairperson's selected unanimously. And again, it is a partnership also between the Canadian government, the provincial government, and the city of Winnipeg. There are 3 relevant pieces of legislation that we are putting forward with this argument. And the 3 pieces of legislation are the Municipal Assessment Act, the City of Winnipeg Charter, and the Corporations Act. So I'll begin first with the Municipal Assessment Act. So as you can see on page 3, and I hope you have the numbering on there, the bylaw for business assessments, that's section 28. For the purposes of a business tax council made by law provide for business assessments to be made in accordance with the act in respect of businesses that are carried on in a municipality. That is, again, what allows for business assessments. Now, the levy for business taxes by councils. So council essentially may pass a bylaw which allows for the levying of business taxes on persons who engage in an occupation, art, profession, enterprise, or livelihood for the purpose of making money for profit. Now, there are exceptions to this, and that you will find in section 30 of the Act, where the organization or association is not operated for profit or for the personal gain of its members, is exempt from the imposition of business tax by a municipality. So here we went over exactly the sections of the Act that allow for business taxes, for the levying of business taxes, and also exemptions to that. Now, the next relevant section pertains to the City of Winnipeg Charter. Now, you can see on page 4 that in the charter there are exceptions to business taxes or business assessment. And I'll start with section 316(2), subject to subsection 3 and section 317, specific exemptions. Premises used or occupied by a person for carrying on a business in a city, whether or not the person resides in the city, must be assessed for business assessment at a sum equal to the annual rental value of the premise on the reference date. Now, the exception to this is sections 316(3). And subsection 2 does not apply to premises. So again, used or occupied by a person for carrying on a business if the assessor finds it impractical to determine the annual rental value of the premise. So that is the first exception. So basically what that's saying is that in any case where it's essentially impossible for the assessor to determine the annual rental value of that property, there would be no business assessment and taxes levied on that property. Now, the next section, which is what pertains to our case, is section B, the use of which is not the preponderant purpose of earning profit. Now, the next section of legislation, or the next piece of legislation that we are putting forward in this case pertains to the Corporations Act. So the first parts of it that you'll see are in section 4, page 4, on sections 262(1), except where it is otherwise expressly provided in this part applies to every corporation with share capital heretofore or hereafter incorporated as a community development corporation. Now, there are additional requirements to this in terms of articles. The articles shall be in the form the director requires, and in addition shall state that the business of the corporation is restricted to fostering the social and economic development of a municipality or other local area in the province. We'll turn to section 264 of the Corporations Act, limitations on distribution of profits or assets. This is a very important piece. The corporation to which this part applies shall not make any distribution of profits or make any distribution of capital or assets on a liquidation, dissolution, or otherwise, unless the distribution is approved by order of the Lieutenant Governor and Council. This section does not apply to the winding up of an insolvent corporation. On page 5, you'll see the premise description again. I believe Ms. Scheidel has described it. It is a heated parkade with 70 stalls. And there also you will see the corporate structure of the North Portage Development Corporation et al. So we have attached the following documentation in support of our request. That is the Articles of Incorporation of the North Portage Development Corporation, the corporate status of North Portage Development Corporation confirming the shareholders, directors, and officers, the Articles of Incorporation of FMP Parking Limited, the corporate status for FMP confirming shareholders, directors, and officers, the profile for NPDC and its affiliates confirming the objectives, corporate structure, and core business of activities, and the corporate family consolidated financial statements and consolidated income statements. I don't actually believe that these are all in there. I believe that that may have been in a more expanded version for another section of this forks that we had presented on earlier. However, I'll ask you to turn to page 6. In terms of the analysis, the crucial to the analysis is the fact that the parent North Portage Development Corporation was incorporated as a community development corporation. And on page 7, you'll see some language, and I may have highlighted it in your section as well. As a community development corporation, North Portage Development Corporation is prohibited from making any distribution of profits or capital assets absent an order of the Lieutenant Governor of Council. The sections of the Corporation Act that are applicable to North Portage Development Corporation and by operation of the corporate structure, any revenue generated by NPDC's affiliates are as follows. Now we'll go to section 262(3). Again, this is the Corporations Act. The articles shall be in the form of in the form the director requires, and in addition shall state the business of the corporation is restricted to fostering the social and economic development of a municipality or other area in the province. That is essentially what this entity known as Forks FNP, who is operating this parking lot, does. And on page 8, you can see section 264. A corporation to which this part applies shall not, again, make any distribution of profits or make any distribution of capital assets on liquidation, dissolution, or otherwise, unless the distribution is approved by order of the Lieutenant Governor and Council. A review of these sections confirms the objectives and limitations of NPDC as a community development corporation. Under those 3 points again. The business of the corporation is restricted to fostering the social and economic development of the municipality. The main objectives of a community development corporation is not to generate a profit for its shareholders, but rather to reinvest all revenue to meet the objectives of social and economic development. And distributions of profits, capital assets is prohibited absent an order of Lieutenant Governor and Council. Schedule 8 is the Articles of Incorporation for North Borders Development Corporation. On page 9, I believe we see a 10-year review of income and losses over a roughly an 11-year period. Now, on section 10, again, or sorry, page 10, we're going back to the Municipal Assessment Act, the levy of business taxes by councils. Expressly in section 29 is for the purpose of making money for profit. And again, section 30, where the organization, this is on page 11, where the organization or association is not operated for profit for the personal gain of its members, is exempt from the imposition of a business tax by a municipality. And again, here, the City of Winnipeg Charter on page 11, 316.2, subject to subsection 3 and exception 316.3. Subsection 2 does not apply to premises, the use of which is not for the preponderant purpose of earning a profit. And again, we can go over the exception on page 11 as well. On page 12, we have a very basic definition of the word preponderant, having superior weight, force, or influence, or having greater prevalence. The term preponderant as having superior weight or influence or having greater prevalence fully reinforces the intent that the persons whose primary objective are not to make a profit and whose ancillary objective is only financial sufficiency, self-sufficiency, must not be assessed for the purposes of business tax. That is precisely the situation in which North NDPC corporate family. Sorry, that is precisely the situation with NDPC corporate family. NDPC is a community development corporation governed under Part 21 of the Corporations Act, with a general prohibition on the distribution of profits. The preponderant purpose of NPDC is not to make a profit, but rather to promote social and economic development within a defined geographical areas, while striving only to be self-sufficient. And again, FNP Parking as a wholly owned subsidiary of NPDC was properly transfer funds to the parent NPDC and NPDC only for NPDC to use for its stated purpose within the prohibition of the distribution of profits applying to the funds so transferred. So I guess in summarizing that, the purpose of the act And the charter is basically to allow municipalities to levy business taxes where there is the ability for an entity, a corporation, a company, or whomever, where they are making profit via the real estate. There is that ability of the municipality to levy business taxes on them. And the exceptions are where the entity, the company, the nonprofit corporation, whatever we want to call it, is not expressly in the business of making profit. And that is what we have shown here, is that this company is not in the business of making profit, but rather to promote and facilitate the development of these areas in the Forks. So we'll leave it at that. I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Ms. Shabo, any questions?
Yes. First question. Is the FNP Parkit Limited registered as a not-for-profit?
I think it's registered as a subsidiary of the Forks Renewal Corporation and North Portage Development Corporation, which are registered under the Corporations Act. Now, are they a nonprofit corporation? No, I don't think that they have a status as a nonprofit corporation, but that's not the argument that we're making or putting forward. It's that this is a nonprofit corporation. It is a development organization registered under the Corporations Act, but it is listed here, as you can see, as we've noted, under Section 264 of the Corporations Act, that this company is not, again, specifically set up for making profits. So a corporation to which this part applies shall not make any distribution of profits, make any distribution of capital assets on liquidation, dissolution, or otherwise, unless it is approved by the Lieutenant Governor in Council. So that is, again, expressing that this entity is not in the business of making a profit for its shareholders.
I have submitted rebuttal.
Okay, well,
This,
we'll-
we will come back to it, but you have in
we'll come
front
back
of
to
you for
rebuttal after.
future. Mhm.
Okay.
My next question, what happened to the profits?
They are funneled through ultimately to the partnership, and that those profits go towards, again, community development, the betterment of those areas that they are seeking to improve, which is the Forks. So again, not expressly for making specific people and specific shareholders rich. And I'm not saying that everybody is in the business of making themselves rich, because any business owner is in the business of making a profit for themselves or for a shareholder. This is expressly saying that this is not specifically for shareholders, but for the betterment of the community. And that's where I think this argument differs from a traditional business that is levied business taxes.
My next question, are there articles in the corporation that specify what happens to monies earned in surplus of operations?
Well, I don't have the articles of incorporation here. They were included in a larger presentation. However, again, I have to go back to this section of the Corporations Act, which does not allow these types of corporations to actually distribute profits like a normal business would.
Let's open page 3 of agent brief. Section 29 and 30 of the Municipal Assessment Act do not apply to the city of Winnipeg for purpose of determining business assessment. Subsection 3 of the Municipal Assessment Act. Section 8, 28 to 30 and 34 do not apply to the city of Winnipeg exemption. The City of Winnipeg Charter, 2002, Section 39, Municipal Assessment Act applies. 316.1, the provision of Municipal Assessment Act, except 2 and Section 3 is subsection 17, 15, and 16 of that act apply to the business assessment in the city. Section 3, this act assessment for
Hang on,
purpose
Mr.
municipal.
Scheibel, you're asking questions right now.
I do
Okay.
comments. I ask question. I had 3 questions. Now it's my comments. It's my rebuttal.
No, I know, but you know what? We're not ready to do your rebuttal yet. We have to ask questions. We'll let you do your rebuttal after, okay? And when
Okay.
you do it, okay, when you do it, I'm going to ask you to go a little bit slower when you do it because you're going so fast it's hard
Yeah.
to follow. Okay,
Mhm.
and I think it's important that we get this. Okay.
Okay. We still on page number 3.
Okay, if you're finished asking questions, though, we're going to have panel members ask questions. You can do. I'll let you do your rebuttal after.
But I go through agent presentation page by page before do my rebuttal.
But I'll let you do that as part of your rebuttal. But you're asking questions right now.
Okay, I will try to transfer my facts and questions. Let's look on page number 3, business assessment exception as 30. Could you read last two lines? This
Where the
business-
organization or association is not operated for profit or for the personal gain of its members is exempt from the imposition of a business tax.
And keep reading, by a municipality. It's already states that it's not applied to the city of Winnipeg, correct?
No,
Let's read 28 by law for business assessment.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
Okay, on page on same page, by law for business assessment 28, could you read last sentence?
Okay, I'll read the whole section. For the purpose of a business tax, a council may, by law, provide for business assessments to be made in accordance with the act in respect of businesses that are carried on in the municipality.
In municipality, it's not for city of Winnipeg, correct?
No, that's not what it says.
Okay. Going 264. We on page number 5. When we read the Corporation Act, we write now the Corporation Act, section 225 on page number 4, but we'll look specific on page number 5, 264, limitation distribution of profit of access. Could you read please part section A?
Corporation to which this part applies shall not make any distribution of profits.
Stop. We are
Ms. Scheibel,
going,
hang on.
we're going on page
Ms. Scheibel,
number
Ms. Scheibel,
4.
Scheibel,
Yes.
excuse me, Ms. Scheibel, I think you got to go on though. I think you have to ask Mr. Navarro, because there's a proviso at the end, unless the institution is approved by an order of Lieutenant Governor and Council. was there an order of the lieutenant governor in council when those distributions were made?
Thank you for helping me out.
Well, Mr. Navarro, could you please answer that? Was there an order of the lieutenant governor in council for any distribution of profits made by the corporation?
No, not to my knowledge, and we would have included that in our presentation if there was.
Okay, well, that's the question I was going to ask you anyway, but I just wanted to get it in now because for continuity for everybody.
And
Okay,
just to be clear, Mr. Chair, that section is not specifically speaking about our party here. It's speaking in the generality of the legislation that, again, these types of organizations, you know, cannot distribute profits the way that a normal corporation does unless it is approved by an order of the lieutenant governor and council. So that is the generality of the legislation. It's speaking to every company or corporation or organization that fits under this legislation of the Corporations Act. However, it's not speaking specifically about our party here.
well, I don't know, Mr. Navarro, because you're asking for us to follow this legislation that you're using the umbrella to
Right,
claim.
but
You don't-
I've also stated that there is no.
Excuse me, let me finish, Mr. Navarro. You're saying that we want us to use this legislation because that's an umbrella you're going under. And I think that if you're going to do that, I think you have to do so in accordance with the legislation that you're seeking to follow.
Right.
But anyway, go ahead.
But, and again, I'm just reiterating that there is, to my knowledge, no such order of the lieutenant governor and council. I can't provide that to you because I don't have it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
We look on page 4 on bottom of list. It is true that CDS, it's 1 second, can make a profit, but the profit or assets will be related by CDS and used only to foster social and economic developments in the community, correct?
Excuse me, where are you reading this?
I'm
Ms. Michelle,
reading-
for clarity, Ms. Michelle, for clarity, I think she's looking at section 262, subsection 3.
Okay,
correct.
On
Thank you
page
for
4.
helping. Mhm.
yeah.
I got a question. What's CDS? What is that?
Corporation, 1 second, I had apprehension. Corporation development, 1 second.
Where are you reading that on page 4?
I'm referred to 262.3 and CDS. 1 second. CDS, it's CDS handbook. It's on page number 6. It's Community Development Corporation.
CDC, eh?
CDC, sorry,
Okay.
CDC. Thank you.
You're asking me if, what is the question again?
My question is this profit used only to foster social and economic developments in community? Yes or no?
That is correct, yes.
On page section 4, page 5, midway down, we are right now looking on limitation of distribution of profit or assets. 264. It is true that CDS can also obtain revenue from leasing any property its own or from the operating profit of corporation companies under its umbrella. Correct? Or no? Yes or no?
Yes, the umbrella, which includes this entity, FNP Parking, And this particular parking lot would be under the umbrella of the development, community development organization. So those, any profits from that parking lot would go to that entity. And again, be used for the sole purpose of bettering the community.
Be on page number 6 on top. It is true that CDS is a capital corporation, but unlike most share capital corporation, it cannot distribute profit to anyone. This is done to protect the board members and to ensure that profits are only distributed for public good, not for individual gain. Yes or no?
That's correct, yes.
If the CDSC dissolved or it's liquidated, CDC must receive approval from lieutenant governor in council to distribute any capital or asset. Approval would not allow distributing capital or assets for personal gain. Assets normally go to another public institution or organization working for public goods. Yes or no?
That's correct, yes.
On page we're going to page 9. We can see that on page 9, CDS and income tax article. It is true that each year, or as with all corporations, CDS EC must file a T4 corporation income tax return, even if there is no tax payable, and even if they are considered not profit corporation.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
It is true that all 4 CDC are incorporated as share corporation. CDC are usually considered not-profit organization because while they can generate income, they are not allowed to distribute profit, and as such may be exempt from paying corporate taxes. Because CDC are incorporated, they must still file an income tax return as all corporations must do, even if they are deemed exempt. Be sure to review the information on not-profit corporation and tax distribution with your account. Yes or no?
I actually can't answer that. I think what you're trying to say is that, are you trying to say that this is a nonprofit and it has to be registered as a nonprofit?
It's regard partnership itself. It is true, while they're funded by the profit of their subsidiaries, which I would agree exist only to generate profit. The partnership itself might be seen in different lights, correct?
I know, I believe what I caught there is that you said that they are generating a profit. So, what I have to respond to again, and this is so hopefully I can, you can understand what I'm saying here, is that the profits from this property, from this specific property, again, are funneled through to the organization, the parent organization under that umbrella. And those go towards, again, that specific issue of bettering the community. And again, not specifically for individuals to make wealth or make profits like any other organization would in the private sector. This is where these types of organizations differ. I think I'm not sure again about your questioning, but I'm hopefully explaining that this organization is not making profits, and if it is making a profit, those are being simply funneled to the parent organization for the purpose of community development, betterment of the community.
No further question. I have only my rebuttal to present it.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread, any questions?
I do. Mr. Navarro, I understand your position on liability. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand it. Did I hear you mention that this matter is under appeal at the municipal level?
I can't say that because I'm not exactly 100% sure. I'm about 50% sure only. So I can't really answer that. I suspect it is. But it's one of those where I have to say I'm not 100% sure. I didn't follow up on it to see whether it is being appealed to the municipal board, but I suspect it may be.
Sorry, I thought you
sorry.
say that.
With the issue of liability, I don't actually think it can be, I don't think it actually can be appealed to the municipal board. I believe it has to be appealed to the courts.
Okay, but appealed somewhere.
Yes.
Ms. Shable, may I ask a question of Ms. Shable, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead. Certainly, Mr. Whitbread.
Ms. Shable, are you aware whether this matter is under appeal, the liability issue? Is it under appeal through the realty?
It's under appeal could be only at Queen Bench because municipal board don't look into, don't accept this appeal.
And so it is under appeal for the liability issue.
Further, yes.
Thank you. I'll go back to Mr. Navarro.
It could be appeals there. I don't know for sure as well.
Right. Mr. Navarro, maybe you can help me understand this then. And maybe we'll have to ask our chair, who I think is a lawyer. But if this matter is under appeal and it goes to the courts say it is liable. And this board today decides on business assessment that it is not liable. What is the outcome of that? Do you know?
I myself do not.
Okay. We'll have to discuss this then when we go into deliberations. I'll have no more questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitbread. Mr. Marisky, any questions?
Yeah, on page 5, you have the highlighted the corporate structure in NPDC et al.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of points there about attachments. Where are those attachments?
I believe that there was a larger presentation that was given regarding some of the other sections of the forks that included the attachments. I failed to attach the attachments. I only included the portions of the proper brief, not the actual attachments. I thought they were included, but obviously the size of this wouldn't support that. So I don't think they were. I didn't attach them, but yes.
So we don't have access to those today.
No.
Okay. I'll have to ask you the questions directly off it then. So are you saying FNP is a separate corporation from NPDC? Are you saying that first, or you're saying they're the same? Or describe the relationship between the two entities.
Yeah, FNP is a subsidiary of the North Portage Development Corporation.
Subsidiary.
Yeah, and that's actually right on page 2.
But it is also a nonprofit organization?
No.
It is a corporation under the Corporations Act. you know, again, the corporate, I guess this is where these articles probably would have helped you if they would have been included in here. The articles of incorporation would have shown that that they, again, are governed under the same structure that the parent organization is, which, you know, again, the shares, the profits cannot be distributed in a normal way. But it is essentially the same as North Portage Development Corporation.
So the Portage Development Corporation has a lot of assets, including this parking. Is it a lot? It's a heated parking garage, correct? So but they have lots of other assets and other sources of revenue. Why does this particular entity have its own relationship or own subsidiary kind of corporate structure? Why is that?
Are you talking about FNP?
Yeah, I'm talking about FNP. Why is it unique from the whole operation of North Portage Development Corporation that it needs its own kind of structure?
Well, FNP is strictly parking related. So there is this parking lot here in the Forks that we are speaking of today. I believe there is also other parking at the Forks. There is a large lot in front of the Human Rights Museum. There is also the parkade at the Forks. And there is also an underground parkade, I believe, under 447 Portage Avenue, which is the Investors Group building. That is also FNP Parking Limited. So this is just I guess if you could call it the parking wing of this umbrella corporation, North Portage Development Corporation.
Well, if they had if their operations yielded surplus, then that surplus just goes directly to the North Portage Development Corporation. They would decide how to use those funds.
Right, and that's the point that we're trying to make, is that they can't really use those funds for anything but what this corporation or this organization does, which is you know, the development of the Forks areas, the betterment of the community, not specifically for you know, for again, providing or creating wealth for individuals.
So every one of the people that work at FNP are employed by NPDC?
I can't answer that. I don't have that detail.
Financial statement for FNP in your, would you have had that in your attachments?
I'm not sure that it would have actually detailed whether they, you know, specific employees of the parking are employees of North Portage Development Corporation. I'm not sure if that would have been detailed. I can't answer that.
They have had to make that public, what their employees make for salaries and bonuses? Public as a nonprofit?
Yeah, I believe there is some requirement in annual financial statements where they have to declare wages for certain individuals. I'm not exactly sure of that detail, but I'm not sure about that, so I can't really answer it.
Page 10. So that's that chart there is North Portage Development Corporation's income and income statement, income loss statement. So this figure on the bottom here, 2,399,675, is that the surplus over 11 years?
Correct.
Well, how much is that what they're carrying right now? Or is that just what they made in accumulation or a sum of each year? Do they
Yeah.
actually have that 2.4 million on in their hand?
So the 2.4 million is what we recorded as of March 31st, 2021. And that would be a surplus, correct?
So they have that surplus right now.
Well, again, we're in 2023, so I don't know if that's changed.
That's what they had in 20.
Yeah, that we only went up to March 31st, 2021.
Maybe I'm going outside of the purview of this particular case here. How much? Just one more question. How much are they allowed to have as a surplus at any one time? Are they regulated in that way?
I don't know. I imagine, and this is just speculation on my part, that if they're in the business of getting profit via the parking, and that profit is being funneled through to the parent organization again for the purpose of, you know, I'll call it the betterment of the community, then I'm not sure whether there are limits on how much they can make. But again, all those distributions have to go to a specific place. They're not for again, personal wealth or gaining personal wealth.
I think I've asked enough questions there. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I just jump back in for one moment?
Please do, Ms. Whippert.
Just a clarification, Marcelo, if I follow up on Bill's questions, then the way I understand this operation is that the surplus generated is transferred to the corporation. It's then channeled out, possibly not, to various community development agencies, and the money is actually spent on development of the community. It's not spent on profit sharing by any individual or any other company. It actually goes out into the community. So in fact, there may be no surplus sitting in a pot or a bank account. It could all be dispersed by now. Is that probably a correct assessment of what you're saying?
I would say so, and that would probably be the reason why there are notations of negative numbers throughout that chart, where you see the red.
Yes.
Where, you know, they may have made a profit or a surplus in 2014, but by 2015 they were in the red already. So it goes up and down. But again, the specific point that we've tried to make is that this is not for individuals to gain wealth. This is for these community development projects, as you've noted, and improving the community.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Completely. I just wanted to clarify the point that there isn't a surplus being held and shared off to anyone.
Yeah.
It's actually going out back into the community. Thank you for that further clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Whippert. Yeah, Mr. Hill, just taking up on what Mr. Moreski and Mr. Whippert have already asked. So just to get this clear, I see that the corporate structure is that there's 100 common shares. So it's a shared corporation, not a non-share. But all the shares are owned by North Portage Development Corporation. Is North Portage Development Corporation a shared corporation, or is it a non-shared nonprofit?
I believe it is a shared corporation.
Okay, and the shares are held by the city of Winnipeg, province of Manitoba, and the federal government, I guess, in proportion to their partnership.
Right.
Okay. And based on the fact that some years there's a surplus and some years there's a deficit, I would assume, I know we don't know that, but I'm asking if maybe you do, that the corporation would have to keep some monies because they don't know what the next year is going to bring, looking at their sporadic financial statement you showed on page 10. In other words, I don't think they pay money out at the end of the year. They'd have to hold some money back because the next year might not be a profitable one.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure about that.
And that may be based on upkeep of the parking lot. We don't know.
For sure.
Okay.
I imagine things beginning with the start of the pandemic probably didn't go well because of the parking situation. So again, we only have up to March 2021, but I would assume that just like every other parking facility throughout the downtown, they were affected. So and again, it's
Yeah.
only speculation.
Yeah, because the years that of the pandemic, it looked to me like they were making a profit.
Yeah, they would have been carrying some in 2020. But again, by 2021, it's all gone.
Okay, and if monies are in fact paid out to North Portage Development Corporation, and you say you don't think there's an order of the Lieutenant Governor and Council, what about if monies are paid off by North Portage Development Corporation? Do they have orders of Lieutenant Governor and Council? Do you know?
I don't know, but for example, if they were to distribute money to a specific development, I'm not sure that they would be governed like the development corporation would be governed as North Portage Development Corporation would. I don't know that there are many true proper for-profit development corporations that are in the business of maybe I should restate that. I don't see that there would be a requirement for a partner to develop a certain section of the Forks to have those same requirements as North Portage Development Corporation would. So once the funds are distributed for the purpose of community development and betterment, I think at that point it kind of leaves their hand.
Okay. On the realty of this matter, were there any exemptions from realty tax that we don't have that in front of us? But what happened with realty?
I don't know in general. However, I can probably speculate that the areas would be grant as opposed to taxable.
Because neither
they
you
may be exempt, or they may be exempt for all I know. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. Okay, because we don't know if there is an application before the King's Bench for an exemption under the realty.
No, I
Because if there is, seems sensible that this matter be heard with that one. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Scheibel, you can go on with your rebuttal.
In my rebuttal, we will see distinguish and company register as not-for-profit and business corporation. But we will still be on page number 3. We'll go through legislation with my comments. First.
We're looking at the same document here now?
Yes, we still stay on agent brief.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was going to your brief. So hang on, I'll go back.
And then is there another brief that you provided besides your original one?
No,
Yes.
just one rebuttal, but I will go back when I go through legislation. I will be used legislation on agent brief for support evidence.
Okay, so there is another rebuttal brief that you provided?
Yes, I have
Yes,
one rebuttal brief provided.
Okay, I do not have that one.
Yeah, it's in
I
the list.
moved it to the
Bill.
SharePoint. You may want to just refresh your SharePoint, Bill.
Before we go to there, we will go through legislation again.
It's about the third item down the list, Bill.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, could we
Okay.
give this a couple of minutes because I don't have it yet, so I'd like to be able to open the document first.
Okay, I don't think we can open it. I think we're still, Ms. Scheibel still wants to, I think, proceed with Mr. Marcello's document at this point.
Okay, that's fine.
And you know what? If we need a break after, we certainly take it before she goes on with her brief.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, can you see the document in your SharePoint?
I haven't looked back yet. I'm still on. I don't really want to go on of what I've got here.
Okay,
because-
okay,
I have it now.
okay.
Okay, proceed, Ms. Scheibel.
We are right now on page number 3, Municipal Assessment Act, section 28, 29, and 30, my comments, that section 29 and 30 of Municipal Assessment Act do not apply to the city of Winnipeg for the purpose of determining business assessment. Municipal Assessment Act govern assessment subject to section 3. This act governs assessment for the purpose of municipal taxation of property. You can see in page on business tax exemption 30, last two words, business tax by a municipality, period. We're looking on City of Winnipeg Charter, section 39. It's we will be on page, right now on page number 4. We look in specific 316.1. The provisions of Municipal Assessment Act, except from those in section 3 in subsection 17, 15, and 16 of Act, apply to the business assessment in the city.
Where are you referring to? I didn't follow that.
So we talk about Municipal Assessment Act,
What page are you on?
page 4,
Page 4.
316.1.
Page 4 of Mr.
Agent
Navarro's-
brief, yes, correct.
Right at the top of the
Okay,
page.
361.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's Municipal Assessment Act applies. Applies to the business assessment in the city. Section 30 of Municipal Assessment Act regarding profits for the personal gain of its members.
Where are
This
you
stip-
now? Sorry.
I go back to page number 330.
Okay, can you, when you go to another page, can you let me know?
Thank you. Municipal Assessment Act, page 3, business tax exemption 30, section 30.
Thank you.
This stipulation is exempt. Section 30 Municipal Assessment Act regarding profit for the personal gain of its members. This stipulation is exempt from the property in the city of Winnipeg. And we have the more literal translation from the City of Winnipeg Charter in 2002, section 39. When it comes to
What page
business,
are you on now? Excuse me, which page are you
I
on?
just give you background information.
Okay, it'd be nice if you could take us through it though, with the actual legislation that you want us to follow, because it's hard to follow. It'd be easier for us to follow it if we could see it.
So, Municipal Assessment Act, section 30, apply to only for the municipal properties. City of Winnipeg Charter, section 39.
Okay.
We can see on page number 3. It's
I'm not following you either.
Are you saying a city of Winnipeg is different than a municipality?
correct. It's what I try to bring on floor. That we following rule of City of Winnipeg Charter.
Okay. Got you now. Yeah.
And the history, I think we will read, we will find in order I provide in my rebuttal.
Are you going to your rebuttal now?
Not yet. I still
Okay.
comments.
Okay, well, just take us through and let us know what page you're on all the time, because it's hard to follow otherwise. And it's important. We want to give you a good hearing, and to give you a good hearing, we have to understand what you're telling us.
City of Winnipeg Charter would logical point us to either their register status as not for profit or legislation article or corporation. Hearing, we're going to hearing that article of corporation with our article in corporation. On page number 9.
Okay.
Article for corporation for my primary evidence for FNF parking limited has not been provided to us to ascertain a clear direction of this matter, really emphasizing the fact that it is article for corporation or not for profit status for M&F parking limited that provides the primary evidence to assist in fulsome review of the company. Until that fulsome review is done, it's unclear what the ultimate ruling should be, onus on applicant. We are going.
I am sorry, I am lost again. Where are you reading from? You're reading from something here?
Yes, it's from my information because we don't have article of incorporation provided to us.
What do you mean my information? Which?
It's my rebuttal, it's my notes.
Okay, yeah, what she's saying is they don't have a copy of the Articles of Incorporation, so they can't determine whether in fact there is a right to an exemption.
Thank you.
What Savannah is saying is the city should have been provided with a copy of the charter.
Thank you very much for your help. Now we're going to my rebuttal.
Miss Scheibo, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Thank you for rephrasing. I know I have accent. Feel free to ask me questions. I'm happy to repeat myself.
Yeah, no, your accent is fine. I can understand what you're saying, but sometimes you talk and you don't. We think that you're reading from something, and you're not. You're telling us things, and it's not clear what you're doing. So we want to know exactly what your argument is, because if we don't, it's very hard to follow it. And if we can't follow it, it's hard to give you a good hearing. So, please bear with us, and well, if you do your part, we'll do ours. Okay.
Thank you.
And now we're in your rebuttal evidence?
Yes, please.
Okay, I need to go to the rebuttal. Give me a minute. Okay, so I might have to refresh this. Okay. Okay, so that would be what we have here as we've got a rebuttal 41 minutes ago was sent. Okay.
84 pages.
Okay.
Before we start, are you going to go through all 84 pages, Ms. Schagel?
Just briefly,
Okay.
what this page is about, just highlights.
Okay.
Everyone can read.
Okay.
I'll wait to ask for a break until after you're done then.
Okay, proceed, Michelle.
On my rebuttal, page 2 through 12, there are company search for North Portage Development Corporation and its subsidiaries, showing its entry status at the company's office. Let's look. First search for North Portage Development Corporation. You can see in red square, entry type, business corporation. On page number 5, company search for F&P Parking Limited, and red square, entry types, business corporation. Are you with me?
Yes.
On page number 8, a company search the Fork Renewal Corporation, entry type in red square, highlighted, business corporation. On page 11, company search the Forks North Portrait Partnership. It's entry type and business name partnership. Now on page number 13 through 16, there are company search for companies that have entry status as a company's officer as not profit corporation, showing distinguish for the subject. On page number 13, search company charity donates Inc. Below example of company search for a not-profit corporation. This is company that operates the parking at St. Boniface Hospital. Page 13, entry type, not-profit corporation. On page 15, below example of company search for another not-profit corporation, the RCR Thrift Store Inc. Company type, not-profit corporation. On page number 17, below is example of company search for community development corporation. It will be through page 17 to 25. This search showing its entry status as company office as not-profits corporation. Again, this is distinguished from the subject property. We see Center Venture Development Corporation, not-profit corporation. Page 19, search Southeast Resource Development Council Corporation. It's not profit corporation. On page 21, company search for North End Community Renewal Corporation, not profit corporation. On page 25, we can see search First People Development Inc. started on page 24. It's also not profit corporation. On page 26 to 49, this is consolidated financial report for the North Portrait Development Corporation for the years ended March 31, 2021. It's its consolidated financial statement. And I would like to mention that North Portrait Development Corporation, it's business corporation, and you can see profit distribute there. On page number...
Excuse me, hang on. Where did you see the profit distributed?
we have to read through, 1 second.
Because I see retained earnings. I don't see any distribution.
Yeah. 12 million.
Oh, hang on.
And you open page 47.
Okay.
It's contribution. Okay. 1 second. I lost it. I need to read through together with you. Let's find out. On page 29, statement, financial statement. Asset, we have asset, not current. Liability. You can see equity, contributed surplus, retained earning. Somewhere here.
Okay, I don't see a distribution. The only thing that I can,
Someone's
Ms. Scheibel, the only thing you see is that you can see as a distribution is donations on page 30, but everything else is to be retained earnings.
parking revenue, yeah, from Fort Market, parking lease, event, rental, investment, expenses, general security. Someone here. I lost it. 1 second, let's keep looking. Expenses, section.
Ms. Scheibel?
Yes,
Is the point of your presentation that there are profits and they are distributed?
yes, somewhere in this document.
Because I cannot find it anywhere in this document that there are profits distributed to any one individual or individuals or companies.
What's that? Somewhere here, but we can keep going. I'm have to read page by page again. But somewhere there it's here exists.
Okay, you know what? I think this is
We're
probably.
going on page 50
No,
now.
excuse me, just a minute. I
Mhm.
think that it's important that if you're making that claim, I think it's important you find that evidence. I think that if you need, maybe we should adjourn for maybe 10 minutes, give you an
Yes.
opportunity of finding it, and that way we can get the break that Mr. Whitbread was referring to before.
And yes,
So-
would
so-
be nice.
Everybody good for taking a 10-minute adjournment break at this point?
Yes.
Sure, I'm good.
Okay, we're back then at let's say 25 to 11. Thank you. We're going to call this session back to order. Ms. Scheibel, so we've all had 10 minutes, and I know that we've used it to review your material, and Mr. Navarro also, I'm sure, has done so. And now, so have you. So can you please now proceed with your rebuttal?
We was looking on financial report to the North Portage Development Corporation. It's a business corporation for the years end 31 in 2021. I did fail to find page specific showed on distribution, but this company for profit business corporation. And I will be proceed with my rebuttal.
Okay, please proceed.
On page number 50, everyone there?
50.
50.
Okay.
This is except from the Community Development Corporation Handbook, which explains the standards of financial reporting for the Community Development Corporation which differs from which is reported to the NPDC financial. This tells us that NPDC might be classified as an OGO, other government organization, meaning they can use IRPS for their reporting standards, kind of on convolute, but it seems that NPDC is not a GNPFPO or a not-for-profit organization because they use IFRC for their accounting and not the required PSIB not-for-profit series from that GNFPOs would need to use. You can see. So it's a Community Development Corporation handbook. We can see that government organizations are classified into one of three types. They can be either a government business enterprise, a GB government not-for-profit organization, GNFPO, or an other government organization, OGO. So our corporation classify as OGO, other government organization. We can see that GBE are required to follow International Financial Reporting Standard, EFRC. SCCDC do not meet the necessary characteristic required to be consolidated at GBE. GNFPO are required to use either PSAB or PSAB with 4200 not-for-profit series. OGO are required to use either PSAB or EFRC. CDC management should discuss with their accounting professionals as to whether they are GNFPO or OGO. What account framework will be best for them to follow. In our case, we see that it tells us that NPDC might be classified as an OGO, other government organization, meaning they can use EFRC for their reporting standard, kind of conclude. But it seems that NPDC is not a GNFPO or a not-for-profit organization because they use IFRC for their accounting and not the required PSAB not-for-profit series from a GNFPO would need to use. Also, not-for-profit organization, GNFPO do not follow International Financial Report Standard and are required to use specific public section accounting board, not-for-profit series reporting form. When you look at 2018 financial attach the auditor report, states that NPDS cash flow and consolidated finance statement are reported in accountants with International Financial Reporting Standard. In addition, on page number 9 of PDF of 2018 financial
Are we going some other document now again?
I think you're muted, Ms. Scheibel,
Oh, me.
or else we lost you.
Sorry, yes. We still on page number 50. We see what statement of consolidates, consolidates state. The financial statement of company have been prepared with accounts with international financial reporting standard are used by international accounting standard. The accounting policies have been applied consistently in all matter respect. On same handbook, CDC our FNP parking limited is not is business company for business. It's not it is not for a profit. I have been so this handbook showed one of the revenue source for this development corporation are the operating profits of companies under its umbrella. This suggests that the case of the Forks has a subsidiary companies exist for the purpose of generating operating profit in order to obtain revenue. I would agree that reason the subsidiaries exist for earn a profit.
Are you reading off something again? I'm sorry, I'm lost again.
Yeah, I'm reading again, but we still on this handbook, CDC handbook, but I read my comments.
It sounds like you're reading off something though.
Yes.
We don't have that, what you're reading off?
No, you don't have this.
But you're making a case here. You're making the
I make that this financial statement showed previous what we saw from page 26-49 that this organization for profit. Right now we're looking on page 51. Please see attached Court of Queen bench order, which discuss in parts the issue of preponderant purpose of the earning a profit. Still will be an important order to read. It's our important evidence. This applicant has the onus to prove section 3162 City Assessment of Winnipeg does not apply to Fort nor Portridge Parking Limited. Important to note that the judge determined as a business under City of Winnipeg Charter is that if a business may earn profit, that section 3163B will not apply. If Fort North Portridge Parking, it is in position where it's possible to make profit at some point in time, then 316(3)B City of Winnipeg Charter does not apply. Question then becomes, are they a registered not-profit organization?
Michelle, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Okay.
I'm lost in here too. So it is 51 to 59. Everyone could read.
Were you reading from the findings of that court case, Ms. Scheibel?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
On page 60, 67. Is my 60 page.
Page 60?
Page 60 through 67, we have TSA's Court of Appeal of Manitoba order essentially says the City of Winnipeg Act rules. When it comes to business assessment, City of Winnipeg Act rules. The history of this can be read in the attached order, which happened before the City of Winnipeg chart was redrafted in 2002 to include those exemptions you see above.
What page are you on, Ms. Scheibel?
On page 60,
Page 60.
this Court of Appeal of Manitoba order it came to Business Assessment Act, CWC rules. Before was redrafted in 2002 to include those exemption you see above. On page 68, and further, this of Board of Revision order from 2009, where the liability to business assessment was challenged and then confirmed by the board. Liability to business assessments has not been at issue at the board's side then until today. It was in 2009. There looks like were a lot of moving parts to the board, to the forks and this time, and we still combine. The board seems to have been satisfied that revenue been generated by the parking. 2009 Board of Revision was appealed to municipal board, but was withdrawal. Subsequent appeals on this business that went to the municipal board only dealt with value. It looked like we came to agreement in many of cases, so liability has not been an issue since. In size page 69 to 84, their Board of Revision order from business assessment hearing from 2002-2003 between Kerry Reimer and various assessors in Assessment Taxation Department with the same exact argument was made, assuming all, and you can see, let's look on page 69, hearing in January 18, 2002. It sticks on page 6970, still taxable. On page 7972, hearing on same January 18 for same business assessment, F&P Parking Limited. It's still taxable. On page 73 to 74, the North Portage Development Corporation, it's business corporation. According to our company search, it's still taxable. On page 75 to 76, Board of Revision order at January 20th, 2022, same business assessment, F&P Parking Limited. It's still board decide taxable. On page 77, Board of Revision order January 25, 2022, same business assessment decision taxable. On page 79, Board of Revision from March 9th, 2023, same business assessment, F&P Parking Limited, taxable. On page number 81, Board of Revision order from March 16, 2023, F&P Parking Limited, taxable. On page 83, from March 16, 2023. Same business assessment, taxable. And my final thoughts with culmination of this information and CDC handbook in how North Portage Development Sense consolidate and reports its financial, it seems no further reinforce our argument that NPDC can make a profit, would want to make a profit to reinvest it, its mandate. It is not considered a not-for-profit organization account-wise. Thank you. Any thoughts?
Mr. Marcello, any questions?
Yes, Ms. Scheibel. Would you say, according to Section 30 of the Municipal Assessment Act, that only nonprofit entities or corporations would qualify?
It's
fact,
okay.
Can you read Section 30?
In this section, appeal только for municipal properties, like you see from my rebuttal, our 1 second, where is it? If you see my rebuttal order, first order, court bench order, judge determine as a business under City of Winnipeg charter that if a business may earn a profit, that section 316 3B will not apply. On another, on page 60, Court of Appeal Manitoba or essential saying that City of Winnipeg Act rules. When it comes to business assessment, City of Winnipeg Charter rules. The history of this can be read in attached order, which happened before the City of Winnipeg Charter was redrafted in 2002 to include this exemption you see above.
Okay, that's not really answering my question, but again, would you please read Section 30 of the Municipal Assessment Act?
I say that Municipal Assessment Act, it's only section business assessment tax on section 30 apply only for municipal properties.
Okay. Now,
so you stipulate regarding profit for the personal gain of its member. This stipulation is exempt from the property in the City of Winnipeg. We take the more literal transaction from the City of Winnipeg Charter 2002, Section 39. When it's come to business assessment, the City of Winnipeg Charter rules. The history of this can be written in attached order, which happened before City of Winnipeg was redrafted in 2002 to include this exemption you see above.
Okay, Ms. Scheibel, I'll just cut you off
I would
there.
assume.
According to Section 316.3 of the Charter, under Section B, the use of which is not for the preponderant purpose of earning a profit. So subsection 2 does not apply to premises where B, the use of which is not for the preponderant purpose of earning a profit. According to the financial statements that you submitted in your rebuttal, were you able to find whether any of the profits or losses were being distributed, for profit to individuals?
This company, it's a business share corporation, and according to one second, to our CDC handbook, show that it's for earning profit.
Again, that's not what I asked you.
Information in CDC handbook showed that this and non-profit a moment and NPDC, it's a North Portridge Development Corporation consolidate and reports its financial. It seems no further reinforcement our argument that this NPDC can make a profit, would want to make a profit to reinvest its mandate. It is not considered a not-for-profit organization accounting-wise.
So in your interpretation, it is the CDC accounting standards that determine whether this property or this business should be liable for taxation.
Correct, because in some the transaction partnership LZIF, while they're funded by the profit or their subsidies, which I would agree exist only to generate profit, the partnership itself might be seen in different lights.
And again, you would agree that you are not able to demonstrate whether any of those profits are actually being distributed to the business on a profit basis?
If you're going to, when you read a Corporation Act, section 225, where is your Corporation Act? It's in your briefs. Limitation, distribution of profit or access, 264. Corporation to which the part applies shall not make any distribution of profit. This section of CA Corporation Act limiting distribution of profit. It does not say that company cannot earn a profit, or that the business cannot have a predominant purpose of earning a profit. It simply limits profits distribution, which means the profit that an corporate made and possibly place it in retained earned account cannot be distributed among partners, employees, stockholders, etc. They could still make a profit, but not be able to pass off those dividends to shareholders. You make argument that incorrect connection between Section 30 Municipal Assessment Act profit for the personal gain of its members to Section 2664 Corporation Act distribution of profit, saying that they are not for profit because they can't distribute those profit for members' personal gain. Section 30 of Municipal Assessment Act exempt from the City of Winnipeg Charter and the business assessment consideration through the City of Winnipeg Charter. Our more literal translation apply through the City of Winnipeg Charter. Therefore, even with FNP Parking Limited's article or incorporation, we still may have an issue granting an exemption under Section 316, 3B, City of Winnipeg Charter. Any more questions?
Yes, Ms. Scheibel, can you turn to page, I believe it is page 56 of your rebuttal. Now, Section 12 outlines the case for this particular order from the courts, Loveday Mushroom Farms, which is a for-profit organization. argued that the preponderant purpose test in section 316(3)(b) relates to the premises and not to the entity using the premises. Therefore, while it admitted that Loveday is in the business that it intends to make a profit, it argued that it is not relevant to determining the entitlement to an exemption because one must look at the preponderant use of the premise only and not the entity using the premise. It argued that the preponderant use of the premise in this case is growing, harvesting, refrigeration, packaging, mushrooms, and not for making a profit. And as a result, the premises are exempt from assessment. Now, would you not agree that this is slightly different than what we are arguing here today?
It is Court of Queen Beach Order, which discusses part the issue of predominant purpose of earning of profits, till will be an important order to read and bring into evidence. The application has the onus to prove section 3(1)(2) does not apply to Forks nor Portridge. Important to note that the judge determined as a business under City of Winnipeg Charter, and that if a business may earn a profit, that section 3(1)(3)(b) will not apply. If Forks nor Portridge is in position to make a profit at some point of time, then 3(16)(3)(b) do not apply. Questions then become, are they registered not profit organization? And our search showed it's business. It's not registered or not profit.
Where in the legislation does it say that it has to be registered as a non-profit corporation?
This order, we can see another order on page 67. We can see Court of Appeal of Manitoba Order and Sanctions saying that City of Winnipeg Act rules.
What page are you on, Ms. Scheibel?
It's on page 60. We have another order.
I know, but where are you reading?
It's my comments.
Okay, because I think I'd like to know where in the case that you're referring to to say that.
It is Court of Appeal Manitoba Order essential saying the City of Winnipeg Act rules. Because Municipal Assessment Act section 2830 apply only to municipal properties.
Where does it say that in this judgment?
Somewhere there.
I know it'd be helpful if you referred to judgments and then you read to us, but we don't know where.
Right.
We'd like to read it ourselves. So if you're using this as evidence or to establish your case, I would like to see where you're establishing your comments.
Mr. Chair, I believe the question was to the assessor. Where in the charter does it state that it has to be a nonprofit?
Okay. Okay. Mr. Navarro, I don't think it does say that anywhere. Okay.
It doesn't say it.
But I think that Ms. Scheibel is going to show us that this Court of Appeal decision might say that. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure where she's commenting on this case. I haven't read it. It would take a while. It's 6 pages, and it's not quick reading. So I'd like to be honed in on where we should read.
What I was able to find, Mr. Chair, was section 16 on page 58 does refer to the Winnipeg Charter. I couldn't find anything else when I was going through this.
Yeah.
Okay. If you open page 64,
Okay,
we're looking on paragraph 15.
okay, hang on. Okay, okay.
It is clear from the reason of the board that appellants contended that impositions that come charge controverted both and City of Winnipeg Act in the Municipal Assessment Act. The board don't accept this contention. The board found the similar premises has been treated in the same manner and that fair in this relationship exists. One is determined on 16 that provision of the two statutes are complementary, don't require consolidation. The remaining questions upon which leave was granted are seen in different light. It's not for this court to become involved in second guessing the assessor with regard to the method to which determined assessment or request business relationship exists. Yes. In this order, we, when it's come to business assessment, this City of Winnipeg Charter rule, the history of this can be read in the attached order, which happened before City of Winnipeg was redrafted 2002 to include those exemptions you see above. On page 68. By the end of the day, Municipal Assessment Act section what agent apply 28, 29, 30, it's apply only to the municipal properties. We using City of Winnipeg charter rules. In
Okay,
before
right now you're being asked questions by Mr. Navarro. I think you've gotten off that. So, Mr. Navarro, any other questions?
I don't, Mr. Chair, thank you.
so
Thank
until this not profit, we need
Hey,
register.
you're not being, Ms. Scheibel, you've already
Okay,
given your
thank you.
evidence. Okay, now you'll
Thank
be
you.
asked questions. Okay. Mr. Whitford, do you have any questions?
I don't have for Ms. Scheibel. Would I be able to redirect to Mr. Navarro, or do you want me to wait?
No, you know what? I think that for continuity, if you have a question going one way, I think this is a different type of situation. And I think we should try to get as clear as possible. So if you think now is a good time to question Mr. Navarro, go ahead and do so.
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, you've asserted that this is a corporation, FNP, and Ms. Scheibel has asserted that it is not a non-profit, which is basically saying the same thing. You both agree it's a non-profit, or it's not a non-profit, but it is a corporation. I want to ask you very clearly, what is your view on the preponderant purpose of FNP, the preponderant purpose of this company, this corporation?
The preponderant purpose of this property or this company is essentially to develop certain sections of Winnipeg and the betterment of the community.
But sorry, I want to interrupt you. Sorry, I didn't talk about North Portage development, please. I'm talking about FNP, the parking structure that we're talking about.
FNP is, as I view it, and yet this is my interpretation, is that it is in the business of making a profit for the purpose of distributing those funds to the larger umbrella corporation. Sorry, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I had a coughing fit. Let's back up and just deal with the first part of your statement. I heard you say its purpose is to make a profit.
I believe that is what the parking entity was set up for, is to create a profit that would.
Let's stop there, Mr. Navarro.
Yeah.
The explanation is not necessary. It's set up to make a profit.
That is my understanding.
That's fine. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Moretsky, any questions?
Yeah, I had that same question there about the profit. But I have a question.
Bill, we're losing you on your microphone.
Yeah.
Somehow you're not directed at you.
Oh boy, yeah, okay. You
Yeah.
know, my head's getting heavy, I guess. But it also exists FNP to provide parking, correct? For North Portage's entities operations.
I don't know actually who.
Correct.
I'm
Well, sorry,
not-
I shouldn't be asking you questions now. I should be asking Ms. Scheibel. Is that right, Mr. Chair?
Well, you know what, Mr. Moretsky, I think the way things are going here, we're trying to get to the root of it, right? And if you
Yeah.
have a question you'd rather pose to Mr. Navarro, feel free to do so. Just make it clear who you're posing it to.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of reframe the same question that Richard had posed to Mr. Navarro. So the preponderant purpose is for generating revenue from the parking, but it also exists to provide the parking, basically, for the operations of North Portage. Would that be a correct statement as well?
I could agree with that, yes.
It's just that in the operation of this parking, they also want it to generate some revenue as well. Would that be a correct framing of it? Okay. Anyways, I'll move on to Ms. Scheibel. Ms. Scheibel, you provided a lot of financial statements in your rebuttal, but I didn't see anything on FNP specifically. Was there anything on FNP specifically? Did they parse that out?
FNP, I provide a search. It showed that business corporation, and according to so we have the Forks is development corporation is not for profit. It has spent when you go and reading through CDC handbook, one of the revenue sources for those development incorporation are the operating profits of companies under its umbrella. So
Okay, but my question was,
FNP, it's a operating for-profit company under umbrella of not-profit organization.
no, my question specifically was though, is there a financial statement for FNP only? Yes or no?
No,
You have that? Or does it exist, first of all, to your knowledge?
we have only financial statement supported to us. That's it.
Yeah, so you don't know whether that exists or not, though.
But it's if agent could provide already stated, we need where is it? We need where is it? Here. Without article of incorporation, we need article of incorporation for NFP Parking Limited. So
I
we
think you can find
can
some
ensure
detail.
You provided it.
I think, Mr. Chair, I think you can find some detail on that on page 33 under the nature of operations in the consolidated financial statements. Section 1.
agent state make mistake An incorrect connection between Section 30 Municipal Assessment Act, profit for personal gain of this member, and Section 264 Corporation Act, distribution of property, saying that they are not for profit because they can't distribute this profit for members' personal gain. Well, Section 30 of Municipal Assessment Act is exempt from the City of Winnipeg Charter and business consideration through the City of Winnipeg Charter. A more literal transaction applies through the City of Winnipeg Charter. Therefore, even with F&P parking limited article or incorporation, we still may have an issue granting an exemption under Section 316, 3B, City of Winnipeg Charter.
Okay, so I just want to get back to my the question then. So you've established that you do not have financial statements for FNP specifically. So then looking at page 30, which is the consolidated income statement, there is parking for 3,539,021, 3.539, and the expenses were only 2.3701. So there is a fair amount of additional revenue after the years left over. That's distributed to North Portage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, going to your board orders, you had referred to a whole bunch of them. Yeah, at the end. So these are all based on the realty orders of liability to taxation, correct?
Correct.
So
It's a business assessment.
the business assessment?
Yes.
Yeah.
All order business assessment.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, that was my question. So then it's not realty, it's business assessment. Right? Okay, they're all business assessment orders. Yes or no? Yes, they're all business.
Yes, it's
Okay.
business assessment. It's was a board of revision decide it's still taxable.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to clarify that. And there's no shareholders involved in FNP.
Mr. Moreski, can you speak into your mic? We're losing you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. And there's no shareholders involved in FNP, correct?
We can see search. If you open at page 5, F&P parking, it's business corporation, Manitoba Share Corporation. It's a business search is here. Shareholders, North Portage Development Corporation.
Okay, maybe I'll reframe. There's no public
10% or more issue voting share. If it's on page 5 through 7, search of this company.
But these are not available. There's no common shares available to the public, correct? For FNP?
No.
Okay.
Bill, the
I have
evidence,
no further- sorry.
the evidence we had is that it is wholly owned by North Portage Development Corp.
100 shares all owned by North Portage.
Yes,
Yes.
no, just want to have her state for the record that there are no shareholders, no public shareholders in this entity. No further questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Scheibel, I know what you're trying to argue. I don't know if I agree with it, but you can have share corporations and non-share corporations, and non-share corporations are always not-for-profit. But a share corporation, just because it has shares, doesn't mean it's for profit. Would you
Correct.
agree?
Correct.
It just means that the assets are held by various shareholders. Doesn't mean they're holding for a purpose of earning a profit. It could be different charities that are holding a certain asset and are using it all for charitable purposes, and probably would be exempt in those cases, insofar as the asset is concerned.
Yes. It is company like NFP under umbrella of not-profit organization. They exist for the purpose of generate operating profit in order to obtain revenue.
No, okay, I understand all that, and I know the share corporation is non-share, and so I think I just want to get that clear. Now,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. Okay.
It
But this
only
was for Mr. Navarro. Mr. Navarro, there's a number of decisions of this board that were referred to by the assessor, and they all show that this board over and over again has found that that North Portage or that FNP parking is taxable. Have any of those been appealed to the Court of King's Bench that you know?
I can't 100% say that, but I suspect they have been.
Okay, because I noticed that the last one actually it was Mr. Reimer, I think, from Altus requested that he confirmed the assessment. He confirmed the assessment, so it wasn't contested. And
Yeah,
I'm not. It wasn't for the parking garage, but certainly then there's other property that's also owned by FNP that seems to be taxable. Must be there for earning a profit. Would you agree?
Well, I think that's probably going to be the basis of the argument in court, is whether they are actually there.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking at the very last decision, which just took place a few days ago, and I see that it indicates that the applicant asked for confirmation or requested confirmation. So, and in terms of Mr. Moretsky and I were both, it seems, on that panel. I don't remember it now, but that shows the. Anyway, okay. Mr. Cello, do you know if there is a separate financial statement for FNP Parking Ltd?
I haven't seen one.
You don't know if there is one. It seems to me if it does earn a profit, there should be one, and I'm surprised it's not available. Okay. You know what? I have no further questions, but I think on the basis of this matter, I think that both of you might want to address a summation.
Yes. The articles of corporation for an FNP Parking Limited has not been provided for us to ascertain a clear direction of this matter, really emphasizing the fact that it is article or corporation or not a for-profit status for a business FNP Parking Limited that provides the primary evidence to assist in fulsome review of this company. Until fulsome review is done, it is unclear what the ultimate ruling should be, onus on applicant. And moreover, some literal transaction applied through City of Winnipeg Charter, even with FNP Parking Limited article of corporation, we still may have an issue granting an exemption under section 316 3B City of Winnipeg Charter. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rochelle, do you have any? Mr. Navarro, do you have any summation you wish to address?
I don't have a summation, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, you'll leave this with us then, and thank you very much for all your hard work on this one. Okay, I guess we now then go to item number 3 on the agenda, which is the property at 266 Hargrave Street.
I'm wondering if you could have at least 5-10 minutes break. It's possible.
Well, you know, it is 11:26 already. I think we might be here all day. And we just had a break. You need it for, if you need
You
to,
have break.
if-
I try to
if
find
you need a washroom break,
information. Yes,
if- if-
please.
if a washroom break's needed, okay, we'll adjourn for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we are live.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Scheibel, please proceed with 266 Hargrave Street.
File number 22-4560. Business assessment ID is 20770. Owner, is Manitoba Public Insurance Company. We assess business at annual rental value of $608,280. The subject business has 551 stalls, unheated parking stalls. We assess at monthly net units rent dollar per stall, $92. On page number 2, you can see air photo street view of parking structure. On page number 3, it's a comparable property 2020 reported rental rates for parking structure. We can see 15 comparables on Provincia Taché, Fort McDermott, James King Street, Portage, Alberta Street, Lombard. We can see a count of stall, heated, unheated parking structure, expense ratio, and 2020 reported rate, stabilized net operating income per stall this month. It's, for example, Provincia, $82.68, Taché, $109.31, Fort Street, $120.50, on McDermott, $114.46 in Safford. We assess at $92 per stall net operating income. On page 4, more actual gross parking structure rate as April 1st, 2021. And we on Hargrave 266, it's our comparable number 6. It showed us they have 548 stalls. They monthly rent $200, hourly rent $4, daily rent $14, evening rent $6. On page number 5, actual rate of subject property of April 1st, 2021. It's very small. Let's make it bigger to support our table before. You can see it's City Place Lot 1, lot number 306. It's our subject property. They have hourly $4, $14 daily, random monthly parking $20, $200, sorry. And more information presented on page 6. One page better. On page 6, income expenses mailer provided to us. It's through page 6 to page 15. So we did assess subject property, $92 monthly net units rent per stall for 551 unheated parking. Based on comparables, the assessment in fair and should be confirmed at $608,280. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, any questions?
Yes, just one. Ms. Scheibel, did you alter the net operating income or the per stall rate from the realty, or is it the same?
It's model generated, $92 monthly net units rent per
Okay,
stall.
but that's the rent that was applied in the realty too?
Correct. No
Okay, thank you.
changes.
That's my question.
I would be mention it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Marisky, any questions?
Nope, that question I had was just answered.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Whitbread, any questions?
I have none, thank you.
Okay, and I don't either. So, Mr. Navarro?
Okay, this is 266 Hargrave Street. And we are looking for a we are looking for an assessment of $550,020. So you can see a general location of the property on page 2. Applicable legislation on 3. On 4, you can find a description of the property in an overhead map. In terms of the breakdown of the analysis, I'll ask you to turn to page 12, or sorry, 6. So we used three comparisons: Lombard Parkade, 35 Albert Street, that is the parkade attached to 201 Portage, and 295 Carey Street. And we looked at 3 years of performance in terms of revenues and expenses in order to find expense ratios and also average incomes as well. Now, in terms of this property, what we had suggested at the realty hearing, we were asking for a net operating income of $479,370. And the board decided on an income of $549,990. I'll just quickly do the math on that as to what it actually adds up to in terms of per stall. So it's $83.18 per stall monthly. And we would respect the board's realty decision and go for the $549,990 rather than the $479,370 that we asked for at the hearing. On page 7, you can see the ARV calculation. Again, the rounded value is $550,020. And in the appendix, you can find the realty board order. And I am open for questions.
Ms. Scheibel, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Ripper, any questions?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mareski, any questions?
So you're going to the order, realty order, and excuse me, and that you know that it was $83 a square foot, correct?
It's $83.18 per stall.
Per
monthly.
stall, excuse me.
Yeah.
It's been a long morning already.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's all I want to clarify.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't have any questions. Thank you very much. So we'll go on then with item number 4 on the docket today, 330 Smith Street. Ms. Scheibel, you ready?
That is me. Yes. File number 22-4251. Business ID is 33107. Its owner, Impact Lot 125, Imperial Parket Limited. We assess business at annual rental value of $444,900. The subject has 400 free unheated parket stalls. We assess at same monthly net units per stall in $92. I presented air photo and street view on page number 2. Same 2020 reported rate of parking structure comparables, 15 of them, and actual gross parking structure April 1st, 2021. Let's look at it here. We're looking for 330 Smith. It's a comparable number 12. 330 Smith, they reported 430 stalls. Monthly rent $160 to $200. Hourly rate $3. Daily rent $13. And evening weekend $4. On page number 5, subject properly actual rate of April 1st, 2021, where we took information from my previous table. On page 6, income expense mailer provided to us. So based off comparables, the assessment is fair and should be confirmed at $444,900. Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Yeah, Mr. Navarro, any questions?
Ms. Scheibel, you haven't made any changes from the realty?
No,
Okay,
it's
that's fine.
model generated
Those are my questions. Thank you.
and
Thank
very
you.
well supported by our comparables.
Mr. Reski, any questions?
Yeah, on page 330 Smith. It's stabilized stall per month is $43 square or a stall, sorry.
On 330 Smith. Last year, correct?
And you have 90.
It's reported to us, but to fare for all similar parking and heated parking, we apply $92 monthly net units per rent per stall.
Well, why do you think there's such a wide discrepancy then between what's reported and what the model says?
Because you can see estimated expense ratio very different. And to be fair, for across all similar type of property, we came across $92 for this type of property.
Different expense ratio on what basis? Are you saying that?
Expense ratio, what revenue generated, expenses was involved, how we calculate this monthly net units per rent per stall, $92 across the city, not across the city, in downtown for parking structures. So we apply same number for all these properties to be fair.
Okay, I think I understand it. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Whitbread, any questions?
Yes, I do. Ms. Shable, you used $403 for your calculations and came to your rent of $444,900. But I note on the second half of page 1, you have 430 spots. And I took a quick glance at the evidence provided by the applicant, and he also states 430. That changes your number by about $30,000. Is it 403 or 430?
Good point. Yeah, they reported 430. Yeah, we have, I will be looking, I don't have answer right now. In my understanding, our record up to date, I will be find more. If it's wrong, I will be update this record.
So your records on the property description at 430 indoor parking?
Yes,
That's not correct.
but for business, 400 free parkings. Yeah, good question. I will look into. Thank you. I don't have answer right now.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay. Ms. Shabo, I noticed. Ms.
Sure.
Shabo, I noticed. Sorry, are you saying something? We're talking
No,
together.
sorry.
Okay. Can I ask my question now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I noticed that you've included the mailer and they've indicated that they had total parking income of $527, $374. And I noticed that you've indicated the city that the model indicates a 58% expense ratio. So that would bring it down to much less than the total annual rental value that is assessed at right now, wouldn't it?
It's what reported to us, but we try to use same ratio for all similar properties.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Navarro, you can proceed.
Hey, this is 330 Smith Street. This is across from the Marlborough Hotel. And the business assessment is $444,900, and we're asking for an assessment of $374,100. We can flip to page 6. Again, we use some of the same comparables to try and come up with a net operating income. We decided on a net operating income of $374,100. That works out to $72.50 per stall monthly. And our ARV calculation on page 7 of 374,100. That is what we are asking for in terms of the basis for it. It would be the realty decision, and that is on page 10 and 11. And we also included our brief as handed in the realty decision. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Michelle, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Reski, any questions?
Yeah, I just need a little moment here. Maybe go to Richard first. I just want to look at the order and I'm not quite ready.
Okay. Mr. Rupert, any questions?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back
Okay,
to me then.
Yeah, it's back to you if you're ready.
You just. All right, I'm good. No questions.
Okay. Just give me a second now. Okay. So just to get this clear, Mr. Navarro, the amount you're asking for being 374,100, you're saying that comes completely out of the realty appeal?
Correct.
That reduced the assessment for realty to $5,344 and see how that was arrived at. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that completes this matter then, and we'll then proceed with the property at 35 Albert. Michelle, you ready?
File number 22-4246. Business assessment ID is 17561. Business name Impact Lot 104, Imperial Parket Limited. We assess business at $1,071,420. We have a total number of stalls, 823 stalls. Our monthly net units per stall for heated parking, 284. We apply $117 per stall per month net per units. And we apply for unheated parking stall, 539 stalls, $104 monthly net units per stall. So on page number 2, air photo and street view of the subject business. On page 3 and 4, same comparables. 2020 reported rental rate for parking structure, 15 comparables. 35 Alberta reported to us they have 812 stalls, both. It's comparable 10 reported to us. They have expense ratio 61%, monthly rent $240 to $350. The casual rent $17 is stabilized net operating income per stall per month They reported $69.90. On page number 4, I have set comparables actual gross parking structure rate on April 1st, 2021. Let's look for our comparable subject. 35 Albert. It will be 19. They have 828 stalls, heated and unheated. Monthly rent $175 to $365 heated. We have hourly rent $5, daily rent $15, and weekend evening $6. This information was fine on actual rate on page number 5 as April 1st, 2021 from online. And page 5 and 6, all information what we posted in previous table. And on page number 7, income expense mailer provided to us. You can see it's $269 indoor parking, random $350. And we can see outdoor parking, $543, random $290, reserve or $240. And income expense mailer continue on page number 8. Based off comparables, as assessment in fair and should be confirmed at $1,071,420. Thank you. Any questions?
Mr.
I have
Navarro,
no questions, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, no questions?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Whitbread, any
I have
questions?
none, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Redsky, any questions?
Okay, so on the top part there, the subject bid section, those numbers, monthly net unit rent per stall, that would include the expenses then?
Yes, it's already take out. Yes,
It's already taken out,
yes.
so you're not including the expenses then.
Monthly net units per rent.
Well, you're
It's-
not including the expenses then.
It's already applied to it because it's net units per rent.
Okay, but isn't that gross then, if you're including the expenses? I just want to get the terminology correct here.
Oh, good. Second.
Why do
It's
you
what-
say net?
what-
So what's not included? If it's net, then there's something not
Net,
included,
it's
correct?
already what we generate revenue, we take out expenses. It's what net, when we estimate net operating income, we apply capitalization rate for property. So it's
Yeah.
already account for expenses.
So that value then, net unit rent includes the expenses, correct?
Excluded.
Excluded.
Included estimated expenses. Yes, they took out. Yes, correct.
So if you're saying net rent, then what is not included?
When we do property assessment, we have revenue. We estimate revenue, how much they generated minus expenses involved before we apply capitalization rate.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just wondering why you use the terminology net rent on the business assessment if everything is included? Why are you saying net? What's not included? You understand what I'm asking?
It's a final number before we apply capitalization rate.
Well, we're not talking about realty here. We're talking about business.
I see. That's our terminology. I never
It's
thought.
kind of thrown me off in the last couple of
Okay,
parking.
it's look like a stabilized net operating income per stall per month. in our study for for parking structure, heated and unheated. For all downtown heated, we have 170 net operating income per stall per month, or for unheated 104. According to our study, we analyze all parking properties.
And then you have in
Ranch.
your page 3, reported rate stabilized NOI stall per month. So that is not including the expenses then. Do I read that correctly? Because you got net operating income per stall does not include the expenses.
It's already expense ratio applied, because you can see monthly they generate $145. When we
you're
apply,
confusing me with your answer. If you would just answer the question that I'm asking, then I wouldn't get confused.
okay,
Does that
for-
number, I'm going to restate the question. Does
Yes,
that
please.
number, NOI, was non-operating income, does that include the expenses? Yes or no?
yes,
Net
Does.
operating, Mr. Moreski, net operating income would be after grosses would be total income, net would be after expenses.
Right.
Right. So then it does not include the expenses then, correct?
no, not include. Yes, sorry, yes, not include. It's clean net operating.
So then there's
Money
not
generated.
when I'm looking at that number up
Mhm.
top and I'm comparing it with those numbers, that is not apples to apples then. Is it? They're different numbers. They're based on one is including expenses and one is not including expenses. Do I understand that correctly?
It's both included, because what we see stabilized net operating income per stall per month, this number what reported to us, and same number what generated by model, we name monthly net units per rent per stall. It's the same estimation.
To help move this along, Bill, the way I understand all these structures and the reporting, they are net, always excluding expenses. So, Atlanta,
Yes, just name different.
no expenses, Bill.
Yes.
Okay, maybe one
And
of you
you-
can answer this question. Why are they not included? Why are the expenses not included for the business assessment?
Because this number already account for expenses when we estimate annual annual total rent, annual rental value. To estimate an annual rental value, we have to account for revenue and expenses. When we apply monthly net units per rent, it's already account for all these numbers. So it's final result.
You're not accepting.
confusing, yeah.
understanding that.
Yeah,
But
well,
let
you
me
guys-
I'm
say this.
losing.
You guys just said that it does not include the expenses, right? I'm talking to Richard and Harvey here. Does
Yeah,
not
the
include.
net, the expense, what they
It's-
show, the expense have all been deducted. So that's
Deducted,
what-
yeah,
But she
sorry.
just said that it was.
It's,
She just said
Folks,
that.
Folks, let me-
sorry, I confused. Expenses was already deducted. It's clean net operating.
Let me ask this question. Maybe Mr. Navarro can jump in and help us. I have so much respect for your background knowledge, Marcelo. In all other business assessment models that we are presented with, there is a gross up top on the square footage, and then there's a net ARV. Can you explain why with parking structures there is not a gross? We only get the net? What's the history?
Well, typically, most envelope properties have occupancy costs.
Yeah.
And those are part and parcel of the type of property that they are. For parking expenses, those expenses are actually factored into the rent because all parking rents are gross begin with, okay? There is no such thing as a net parking rent. The net that you see at the end is the result of the gross rent being worked to a net. So in that sense, those charges are never really there in parking. So you wouldn't have the air conditioning occupancy costs. You wouldn't have the heating costs in general. And you wouldn't have the electrical costs for the most part. Those are the way that I look at that is those are already included in those gross rents. So we're essentially trying to work our way to a net. I hope that kind of explains it.
No, it confuses it a little bit because when I look at Ms. Scheibel's presentation, her evidence, subject bid on page 1, she shows a monthly net unit rent dollars per stall. And what I've always assumed is that that would exclude things like painting lines, cost of painting lines, cost of cleaning the parking lot, cost of broken infrastructure, people running into the boards, that sort of thing. Cost of electrical to plug your car. Those expenses would be excluded.
No, they're actually included in there.
Oh my God.
No, it's excluded.
I don't know about that, Svetlana.
Okay.
It's included.
I
That's
think
what that's why they take a percentage
Yes.
for expenses. There's always a percentage expense ratio.
And that's my understanding of it historically, is that expense ratio allows for those expenses that I kind of just described.
Yes.
Maybe others.
Exactly.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so Bill, in answer to your question, this is net of the expenses. The expense ratio covers that. Are you happy with that?
Happy with that, yes. I just, it's just the terminology on here that's throwing me off.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, the NOI down below. I don't know whether it's apples to apples all the time. So.
It's model driven, so who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you finished your question? Because I've got a couple of questions.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, Michelle, I'm referring to your page number 4, and like Mr. Whitbread brought up on the last one, there's a discrepancy in the parking spots. You've got 823, and it's reported 828. Do you know which one's correct?
8,823 parking stall in our records. We account
Okay.
for.
Yeah, because on page number 4 you show 828, so I'm just referring to that. Okay. Second thing, was there a realty tax application?
Realty tax. We talk about property tax.
Yes.
Amount, it's on page number, which page of my brief? On page number 5 of my brief, an income expense mailer provided to us. They pay property tax $184,051.
I'm asking you, was there an application made for reduction of the 2023 assessment
I didn't
of
look
the
into.
properties?
I didn't look into.
Because in the previous ones, Mr. Navarro's asked us to follow the real estate, so I was just wondering. Okay, you don't have the answer. Mr. Navarro, you can proceed.
Okay. This is 35 Albert Street. So this is the parkade that's attached to 201 Portage Avenue. You can see an overhead picture on page 4. We'll just go to the analysis on page 6. Again, some of the same comparables that I used for the previous property. So just to highlight the point again, we start with a gross income. We factor in the expenses. We get an expense ratio, and that gives us our net operating income. So the net operating income would include all of the expenses, including electrical, any of those that would be typical for a parkade. For this property, we have a 3-year review where we selected a gross income of $1,956,361. That works out to a gross of $198 per stall monthly. And we applied a 52% expense ratio of $1,017,308. That gave us a net operating income of $939,053. That works out to $95 per stall monthly net. On page 7, you can see the ARV calculation, $939,060. And in the appendix on page 10, you can see the board order on the realty. That's page 11 and 10. And you can see the decision is based on the net operating income presented by the applicant. And then beyond that, the submission that I made to the board for the realty application. And I'm open for questions.
Ms. Scheibel, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Whipper, any questions?
I have none, thank you.
Mr. Mareski, any questions?
Okay, just to clarify, your number is based on the realty decision?
That's correct.
Perfect number. That's the only question. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no questions, so thank you. Okay, that takes us to 3755 Portage Avenue. And I note that there's, well, I've got Altus as brief. Hang on. Okay. Sorry. Okay, Ms. Scheibel, when you're ready, you can proceed.
4, 3, 2, 7. Okay, 1 second. Here is me. Yes, I'm here. File number 22-4396. Business ID number is 29032. Red River Cooperative Limited. We assess business its annual rental value $101,220 with total premise occupied area of 3,075 square feet. Our overall rent rate that include occupation cost $32.92. On page number 2, the subject property is vehicle service garage suited of land area of 26,553 square feet. It's a commercial C zoning land. And floor area on leasable area 3,075 square feet. On page number 3, I have presented 14 comparable similar type of property. They showed a mean or average $56.28 in media, $32.32. On page 4, income expense mailer provided to us. It's owner occupied. So our, based on comparables, our assessment is fair and should be confirmed at $101,220. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Mr. Mareski, any questions?
I do not know.
Mr. Whipper, do you have any questions?
I do, just one, I believe. Ms. Scheibel, this is a car wash and a service station with a convenience store. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so your $10.41 is that would be for the car wash?
Yes.
And when I look at all of your comparables here, the 14 comparables, I see some that indicate car wash. Are they all car wash inclusive?
Not. Let's look page number unit comparable number 1 SKP. It's a store 7-Eleven, and comparable number 3 vehicle. It's a vehicle car wash, Blue True car wash. So I presented all together. To example, car wash, just strictly car wash, lease in 2015 on Pembina, comparable number 3. It's for $9 per square foot. We need to 6 years upward adjustment for time. Another car wash and store plus pump on comparable number 9 on Sterlington was leased in 2013. Altogether, $31.72. The lease in 2013, and we need to bring to 2021. We need 8 years upward adjustment for time. So our overall rent, $32.92. It's already include occupancy cost. It's not net. It's fair. It's supported by my evidence.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. And I don't have any questions. So, Mr. Navarro, you can proceed.
Okay, this is 3755 Portage Avenue. And this is a Fed co-op facility. You can see it there on page 2. Between Isbister and Stewart Streets on the north side of Portage Avenue. And from its description on page 4. On page 5, you see the SKP. So this would be the store portion. And we have these comparisons on Kenaston, Portage Region, Leela, and Pembina. And then on page 6, we have car washes. So in terms of the total income stream, you can see the chart there. For the SKP, we have an income of $70,085, and for the car wash, $9,771, for a total of $79,856. That is the income that we've gone with. Rounded with the occupancy cost, that comes to $87,240. And on page in the appendix, we have the order from the board. And as the order states, this was based on the evidence presented by the applicant. So I am open for questions.
Okay, Michelle, any questions?
Yes, please. For a realty decision, what was capitalization rate applied by a member of board in this decision?
I don't know, and it's not really relevant.
You would agree in this type of decision, sometimes capitalization rose to increase, but never touch rate, rent rate in most of the cases, correct? Supported base in your observation, in most the times capitalization was rate was increased and assessment rate net rent was used the same, correct?
Again, I don't see the relevance in this point because we're just talking about the rental value at this point.
But it's a decision based on presented by applicant. What capitalization rate you ask for this type of property? It's my question, sorry.
I don't have the capitalization rate because as I understand, business assessment doesn't deal with the capitalization rate. So I'll leave my response to that.
So it is order not clean if rent was changed or capitalization rent was just increase. What usually happened for my observation, for my hearings, past hearings, correct? Do you know?
I don't know what you were asking, Ms. Scheibel.
So you don't know what capitalization rate was requested at the board during this hearing. I would like to know what was applied for this decision by applicant presented. What did you present it?
Well, Ms. Scheibel, again, I wasn't there. But I don't see what the capitalization rate has to do with this.
Okay, you look, Mr. Navarro, you can't answer the question because you don't know, correct?
That's what I'm trying to say, is I can't answer
You
something
didn't,
that
okay, Ms. Scheibel, we see what you're referring to and we get it. And Mr. Navarro can't respond because he doesn't know the answer.
Because I'm under oath and from my statement, it's my statement. Most of the time our rent was confirmed and capitalization rate just
Okay,
increased.
right now you're asking questions. I'll let you make a summation if you wish to do so, why we should go with your numbers, okay? But right now you're asking questions.
No further questions.
Okay. Mr. Ressi, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I guess I just to carry that on, yeah, there's no, this decision by the board does not delineate what was the cap rate and what rent was. It just says based on the evidence presented by the applicant, so you don't know specifically what those specifics were, correct?
I know what the rental specifics were. I don't know what the capitalization rate was, nor do I know what the vacancy was. I don't know what the shortfall was. I don't know what the non-recoverable expense allowance was because I didn't look at that. It's not something that we look at for the business assessment. What I can confirm is that we used a rent of $32.75 for the SKP and $10.45 for the car wash.
Okay, but your case, the case you're making is implying that the rent rate was held by this board a revision order. Is that what isn't that the case that you were making?
Correct. It follows.
But you don't really know that though, right? Based on what this order says. Because it could have been partly based on the capitalization rate too.
Right, but
you don't know the mixture.
The order implies that they agreed with the agent's valuation, all of the parameters that they used in their valuation. And while I am not including any of those other parameters that I just mentioned, like the vacancy, the shortfall, the capitalization rate, etc., I am including the one parameter that is pertinent to what we're doing here today, which is the rent. So I haven't deviated from what the agent presented in their case, in their evidence for the realty on the rent.
Okay. No further questions.
Mr. Whipper, do you have any questions?
Just to make sure I'm clear, Mr. Navarro, then you used $32.75 and $10.25 for the rent based on the realty decision. You took 50% of that for the front and back of the premise, this being an MPIC with sort of an automotive part and an office part. And that's how you arrived at your $13.49 a foot. Is that correct?
That seems to be correct. Yeah.
I just did the math and it seems to work.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I have no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Navarro, I guess, you're asking that. I know that in most cases we do look at realty when there's been an application, and we try to follow it where it makes sense to do so, which is often the case because I think our boards make pretty good decisions in most cases. But we do have these hearings, and the reason we do so is because there could be a reason why the business assessments could be different than realty. And in this case, I guess what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the overall expense, the overall rent that the city's given, which doesn't seem, from what you're saying, to be much different from yours. And you have very different numbers, but I'm also looking at the comparables, and I like the Mrs. Scheibel's comparable at 690 Sterling Lion, because it seems to be a similar property. It's at a good location and includes a store, a service station, and a car wash. But I guess I'm going to have to work through some numbers because your final numbers seem to come out very differently, and you're indicating using 3275 and 1025 for the car wash itself, and I thought that the Scheib was using, with everything all in, I guess it works out to an average overall 32.92 a square foot, which isn't that much different. So anyway, can you answer me there? Am I getting it, or am I missing something?
Well, Mr. Diamond, so the base ARV that the assessor is using is $39.30 for the SKP and $10.41 for the car wash. So from our perspective, there isn't much of a variation in terms of the car wash. Now, the SKP, there is. We're using 3275 for the SKP. As I mentioned, they're using $39.30. Now, the one comparable that they use, which is similar, which has a store and car wash, is 690 Sterling Lion.
Right.
Which is at $31.72 combined. Okay.
Correct. And the city on this one is a 32.92 combined. So and Scheibel is referring to the fact that it's an old lease, so there would be some step up over the years, which sounds reasonable.
Right.
To me, at least.
What I would say about that is look at the location. We're comparing 690 Sterling Lion to this part 3755 Portage Avenue. Now, 670, I can tell you just from knowing this location, 690 Sterling Lion, it is a busy hub for the city.
And Portage Avenue is as well, though. Portage Avenue is a very busy hub.
I would say it does not compare to this one. So I would say that there is a slight deviation from what the city has done in terms of the model here, but I would say that the superior location is Sterling Lion.
Well, I think what would dictate what would be a superior location would be how much competition there's in the area and how much traffic there is. And Portage Avenue and Keniston and Sterling Lion, I know all are heavy traffic areas, but I'm not sure about the competition in the area, so that I can't respond to, and that evidence isn't before us. So, okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I have questions. Please open page 6 of agent brief. We looking on your last table for a store. You estimated $17,085. What rate you're using for it?
For what?
What rate for a store you use in your?
For the SKP,
Yes, correct. Store.
$32.75.
What rate you use for car wash?
I have 10.45.
So you use 10.45 much higher than our estimation 10.41. It's and your store a little bit low than our estimation, and you have so huge reduction by the board, correct? So your rent very close to our rent, and you apply and you have big reduction on realty. So capitalization rate was involved in this decision, correct?
Okay, you already asked these questions, I think, at this point. You know
My
what?
point that car wash.
I thought you might have, you already asked your questions before, Mrs. Lana, and I think we get it, okay? I alluded to those same questions, so
Thank
we'll
you.
go with, okay, we'll go to the next one.
No further questions.
Okay, so that takes us then to 125 King Edward. Item number 8 on the agenda.
125, yes, and our last. Let's look. File number 22-4562. Business assessment IT is 4289. Owner business, the Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation. We assess business at annual rental value of $314,700. Occupancy business occupied premise of 17,694 square feet. Our overall net rent that include standard occupancy cost together $17.79. Let's look. On page number 2, I presented air photo and street view. We have vehicle-related business suited on land area close to 74,000 square feet and leasable area just close to 18,000 square feet. On page number 3, income expense mailer provided to us. It's owner-occupied properties. And on page number 4, I presented 20 comparable property 2020 reported rate for vehicle service garage. It showed annual, it's 5 comparables on McPhillam's, Pembina, Vermilion, Lakewood, St. Anne. All my 4 comparables showed average or $19.95 and media $20.50. We assess property altogether with occupancy cost $17.79. So based on my comparables, the assessment and fair and should be confirmed at $314,700. Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
any questions?
Yeah, Ms. Shable, the $17.79 per square foot, is that the rental rate as per the realty also?
Yes, it's occupancy. It's together with occupancy cost. Our
Okay.
net rent, it's around $15 per square foot because our occupancy cost usually $2.50.
Okay, and you know that there was a decision by the board that lowered the assessment, correct?
My comparable showed $19 per square foot, and we assess less than $16 per square foot. But it's a Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation has a lot of office space compared to car service garage. Our comparables in market evidence showed that our assessment is fair.
Okay, that's my only questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mercy, any questions?
So was there a realty appeal made on this property?
We did an appeal, I don't notice. We cannot appeal everything, but if we not every time agree with realty decisions, that's why we keep defend our business assessment, do our best for fair distribution of tax.
There was no realty board order on this one?
We have realty board order and agent can talk more about it.
Okay, so there was one then.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
I try to open
And
it,
you don't want
take
to talk
time.
about it?
It's just downloading. Be with me. I try to open. It wasn't open before. Let's see what's going on here. The decision based on adjusted net operating income with capitalization rate 7.75. So it was my my appeal, my hearing. So it's was net operating capitalization rate was increased and rent was not so much. It's not decreased too much because it's look like confirm.
What was the combined net rent used in the realty?
From realty, from 3.3 million was dropped to 2.9, but very high capitalization rate, 7.75%. And original, I will look for original capitalization rate. It's my point, sometimes our net rent doesn't touch, but applied capitalization rate. No, same capitalization rate, so it's also a little bit low. For this property. Board decreased slightly.
So again, what was the rent, the net rent on the realty, your realty assessment, not the order, just the realty assessment? What was the net rent that you used per
What
square
right
foot?
now I apply for business, it's same net rent.
Same net rent?
Yes, correct. $15.02 and $15.88.
Okay, there we go.
But in this decision, it could be, we don't know if vacancy was applied. Sometimes expenses was increased or shortfall. And Altus usually ask for expenses increase from 3 to 7%. So it will be rent, not use same what we suggest.
Right.
So I don't know 100%.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Whipper, any questions?
Well, I do want to just clarify that further because I haven't heard a clear answer to Mr. Navarro's question and really not a clear answer to Mr. Moretsky's question, that the Realty Board made a decision and you keep referring to a slight decrease in the rent as a possibility. Did the rent decrease or not? Yes or no?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
I need to do estimation to see what board decide.
Can you do that right now?
I try. Edward. No. Be with me. I will try to plug all number in my spreadsheet. We have 8486 square feet with rate of 1502. cents. We also have 9,208 square feet at 1588. Sorry. We have vacancy for this business, for this property, 2%. Expenses, 3%. In a rent, 7.75%. 7.75%. We did request. Three 3 million. And decision, I need to see decision. Decrease to 2.9. 2.9. I don't know what agent ask for a vacancy. Usually they try to increase vacancy and increase expenses. So I don't be sure what's going on. Sorry.
Okay.
I tried to.
Mr.
Okay,
Navarro,
assume the vacancy and shortfall and expense ratio is left the same as the cities. And what do you get?
It's 3.2. 3.2 million if I apply everything what hour. No, I already increased, sorry. 3. If it's same, just sorry, I don't know what agent asked for.
Okay, but you know it was reduced to 2,900,000 from the original.
Yes.
What was the original assessment?
3.33 million for 2.9 million was reduction. And net operating income was adjusted. Sorry, I try to work backward. I'm not sure.
And the capitalization rate was left the same at 7.75%.
Yes,
Okay.
in this case, yes. So it was reduction, but I don't know how much.
Okay. Has your question been answered, Mr. Whitbread?
no, I think what I'll do is Mr. Navarro may be able to shed some light on this matter.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I had any further questions and we'll, okay, Mr. Navarro, you can proceed.
Okay, we're looking at 125 King Edward Street East. And if you flip to page 5, these are the set of comparisons that we used in the realty hearing with an average of 9.26 and a median of 9. And then we have a second set of comparables for basement. However, I looked at the board decision and so it's easy to establish the net operating income. That's simply a calculation of the capitalization rate percentage by the overall value that will give you the net operating income of 224,750. So that was the net operating income as per the order. Again, that's a simple calculation. The issue is how do you get to 224,750? And there's at least 2 ways that you can look at it. You can use the city parameters of vacancy, which was 2%, shortfall of $6, non-recoverables of 1%, and other of 2%. If you go by that, you can see in the chart the rent that would be required to get you to $224,750. Now, if you use the parameters of the Altus that Altus used, which was 4% vacancy, $6 shortfall, and 5% for non-recoverables and 2% for others, then you need a rent of about $14.50 combined to get you to about $224,750. So it's one or the other. I'm proposing the first one, which I laid down for you there. But if we went by the Altus parameters, then you would need a rent around $14.50 to get you to that $224,750. And on page 7, you have the ARV of $282,900 and the order beyond that. So I'm open for questions.
Michelle, any questions?
I try to plug number what agent give me. It's showed if we apply what agent ask, it will be over $14 per square foot. In agent still ask $13.49. You want more reduction for business compared to realty, correct?
Again, there's two ways of looking at it. So I give two scenarios effectively.
We need one scenarios. So I still plug in your number. So
what I
to
would say
came
is
to
the rent that the city has applied as per the model is not possible based on the order. So it would have to be one of the two, the $14.50 or the $13.49.
okay, I did plug all number according to Board of Decision 2.9 million was applied rent $14.45 with vacancy 4%, shortfall $6 per square foot, other expenses 7%, and existing cap rate 7.75%. So realty decision $14.45. And we assess just over $15 per square foot. In my opinion, it's fair and should be confirmed. $14.45. The agent want more reduction on business. It's not fair.
Okay, we're asking questions right now.
No further questions.
Okay, Mr. Moretsky, any questions?
This is of the applicant, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe I have any questions. I think I'm
Thank you.
clear of what he's asking. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread, any questions?
Yes, when I reviewed the docket item, I noted two issues, rent and occupancy, difference between the two numbers calculated. Shelley, you've taken air conditioning for all the space where the assessor has only provided air conditioning costs for half of the space, roughly. Can you explain that differential? Is the whole building air conditioned?
As far as I know, yes.
Ms. Schabel, did you have a different view of that?
It's in our record. After hearing, I will look into and maybe I may change because it's office space. Why it's no air conditioning, something mistake here. I will do more investigation. It's my job to update our records after hearings.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Mr. Navarro believes that it's all air conditioned. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, and I have no questions, so that completes all items on the
I
agenda.
have summation, please.
Go ahead.
Uh, in my opinion, the value is supported by my comparables, very similar to the subject property. The agent heavily relied of order by Board of Revision. They showed by applying his parameter that rent was applied for this order, $14.50 compared to our around $15 per square foot. So our estimation fair and should be confirmed at $314,700. Thank you. No question? I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Navarro, do you have any final summation you wish to put forward?
No, I think that was a closer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So all items now on the agenda have been completed. We thank you both for your presence and your evidence and answering our questions and everything. We'll endeavor to get answers to all of them, and you'll have our decisions very shortly. So we're now closing this hearing. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
very
both.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Bye.
You too.
You.
Bye
Thanks.
now.